Tell them why my mother's necklace was hidden in your locker. Celeste Whitmore held the diamond necklace above her head, as if she had pulled a weapon from Nia Carter's belongings. Hundreds of guests stood beneath the crystal chandeliers of the Beaumont Grand Ballroom. Investors, executives, politicians, and hotel staff stared toward the open service corridor where security officers had surrounded Nia. For one terrible second, nobody moved. Then phones rose into the air. Nia stood in her black housekeeping uniform, her hands empty, her breathing shallow. She looked past Celeste, past the necklace, past the cameras, and found Adrian Beaumont near the stage. Only hours earlier, Adrian had promised that after the gala, he would tell his family the truth about them. Now he said nothing. Marcus Reed, the hotel's security chief, held Nia's employee badge between two fingers. The electronic records show your card entered Miss Whitmore's suite 11 minutes before the necklace disappeared, he said. That wasn't me. Celeste stepped closer. The necklace was in your locker. I didn't put it there. You expect us to believe someone planted a $20 million family heirloom inside a maid's uniform? A murmur spread through the ballroom. Nia kept her eyes on Adrian. You said you trusted me, she told him. Was that only when no one was watching? His face tightened. Victoria Beaumont stood beside him, one hand resting on the documents that would merge two hotel empires before midnight. Adrian, she said quietly, the press is already outside. He looked toward the investors, then toward the employees gathered near the service doors. Finally, he looked back at Nia. Security will investigate. Nia's expression changed, not because he had accused her, because he had hidden behind a procedure controlled by the people accusing her. The ballroom doors opened behind the officers. Samuel Carter stood in the entrance, leaning heavily on a cane. His 17-year-old son, Eli, supported him by the arm. Samuel had worn the Beaumont uniform for 26 years. Now he watched Marcus remove the badge from his daughter's chest. Nia, Samuel called. She turned toward him, and the control in her face almost broke. Victoria spoke before anyone else could. Remove her from the property before the reporters see this. Nia looked at Adrian one last time. An investigation controlled by the people accusing me isn't justice. Adrian did not stop the officers. The doors closed between them. 6 weeks earlier, Nia Carter still believed the most dangerous thing inside the Beaumont Grand was losing the job her family depended on. She arrived each morning at 5:20, before the lobby pianist, before the breakfast servers, and before Chicago's first pale light reached the upper windows. Her routine never changed. She tied back her hair, checked the wheels on her cart, counted the sealed toiletries, folded an extra cloth beneath the handle so the metal would not irritate her palm. Then she cleaned her badge. The small plastic card carried her photograph, her name, and one word beneath it. Housekeeping. Nia polished it every day, because Samuel had taught her that a uniform was not proof of importance, but the way a person wore it revealed what they believed about their own work. Samuel had once stood beneath the Beaumont awning, greeting heads of state, actors, and business leaders by name. He had known which guests preferred the revolving door and which needed a quiet entrance away from cameras. After his accident, the hotel stopped calling him. Nia never did. She phoned him during her first break every morning. That Tuesday, he answered on the 4th ring. You're supposed to be stretching, she said. I stretched. Walking to the refrigerator doesn't count. It was a very determined walk. She smiled despite herself. In the background, she heard cupboards closing. Is Eli still home? He says his first class was canceled. His first class is never canceled. Samuel lowered his voice. He took another delivery shift. Nia stopped pushing her cart. Eli had been working evenings for a grocery service, telling everyone it was only for spending money. The week before, Nia had found a withdrawal form from his high school hidden beneath the kitchen trash. He can't quit, she said. He sees what the bills are doing to you. That doesn't make him responsible for them. Samuel was silent. Nia understood the silence. Her father's physical therapy had been reduced after their insurance denied further sessions. Without treatment, the pain in his damaged hip had grown worse. Some mornings he needed both hands to move his left leg from the bed. The hotel accident had changed his body. The settlement had changed his pride. Nia had spent 8 years making sure neither destroyed the family. "I'll talk to him tonight," she said. "You have class. I'll talk to him after class. You also need sleep. I'll schedule it for Thursday." Samuel gave a tired laugh. Before ending the call, he said what he said every morning. "Keep your head up, baby girl." Nia slipped the phone back into her pocket. Then she heard something fall in the corridor ahead. The upper executive floor was usually silent at that hour. Nia left her cart beside the wall and followed the sound. An elderly man stood near the locked service elevator, one hand pressed against the wallpaper. The other clutched a bronze key attached to a faded leather cord. Nia recognized Arthur Beaumont immediately. His portrait hung in every administrative hallway in the hotel. Founder, former chairman. The man credited with turning one Chicago property into an international hospitality empire. But the man in front of her did not look powerful. He looked lost. "Mr. Beaumont?" Arthur turned, but his eyes did not focus. "Where's the front desk?" "You're on the 23rd floor." "No, the desk was here." His speech was slightly uneven. Nia moved closer without touching him. "Can you smile for me?" Arthur frowned. "Why?" "Please." One side of his mouth barely moved. Nia reached for the radio clipped to her belt, then stopped. A medical emergency involving Arthur Beaumont would bring security, management, and possibly guests into the corridor. Cameras would follow. Panic would spread. She called the private medical number listed inside every executive suite. Then she unlocked an unused linen room and guided Arthur toward a chair. "I don't need a hospital," he protested. "You may not, but you need a doctor. You always ignore guests this politely?" "Only the stubborn ones." He almost smiled. Nia placed a folded towel beneath his arm and noted the time. She asked simple questions while they waited. His full name, the year, the hotel, the name of his daughter. He answered most of them correctly, but when she asked why he was on the floor alone, he stared at the bronze key in his hand. "This used to open room 101, he said. "The first room we ever rented." The private physician arrived with Adrian Beaumont less than 7 minutes later. Adrian entered the linen room wearing a dark suit without a tie, as though he had dressed in the elevator. He knelt in front of his grandfather. "Granddad." Arthur waved him away. "The young woman has already decided I'm dying." "I said you needed a doctor," Nia corrected. Adrian glanced at her. His expression was direct and controlled, but she saw the fear beneath it. The physician performed a rapid examination and determined that Arthur had experienced a transient ischemic attack. He needed immediate monitoring, but his symptoms were already easing. Adrian helped his grandfather into a wheelchair. Before they left, Arthur looked back at Nia. "What's your name?" "Nia Carter." "Carter." Something moved across his face. Then it disappeared. Adrian noticed. "Do you know her family?" Arthur avoided the question. He held out the bronze key. "I nearly dropped this." Nia took it and placed it safely into his palm. Arthur closed his fingers around hers. "A hotel is judged by how it treats the person who cannot afford to stay there." Adrian looked uncomfortable, as though he had heard the sentence many times. Nia looked toward the polished corridor outside. That standard would make some hotels nervous. Arthur laughed, and the doctor told him not to. By 8 o'clock, the executive floor had returned to normal. By 9, Nia's supervisors summoned her to the operations office. She expected to be questioned about the medical emergency. Instead, Mr. Daly placed a printed sheet on the desk. "You left your cart unattended for 14 minutes. I was helping Mr. Beaumont. You should have called security first. I called the private medical line. Your responsibility is housekeeping." There was a man showing signs of a stroke. Daly lowered his voice. "Do you want to keep this job?" Nia stared at the warning form. The old anger rose inside her, the same anger she felt each time a company used policy to make compassion look like misconduct. She signed only to acknowledge receiving the document. Under her name, she wrote that she had acted during a medical emergency. Daly looked at the note. "You always need the last word?" "No, just an accurate one." That afternoon, Adrian found the warning form in a stack of reports. He had spent the morning at the hospital with Arthur, who was stable and already arguing with nurses. Adrian read Nia's statement twice. Then he requested her employment file. The file surprised him. No disciplinary history. Consistently high guest ratings. 3 promotions declined because each required relocation. Currently enrolled in evening courses in hotel administration. He also found a maintenance suggestion attached to one of her supervisor's reports. Nia had mapped the distance older employees walked between supply stations and proposed rearranging storage to reduce lifting injuries. The suggestion had been marked unnecessary. Adrian carried the paper to the 23rd floor. Nia was replacing towels in a suite when she noticed him standing in the doorway. "Mr. Beaumont, you can call me Adrian. I probably shouldn't." He held up her proposal. "Did you make this?" 3 months ago. Why was it rejected? You'd have to ask the person who rejected it. I'm asking whether it would work. It would reduce the distance each attendant walks by almost 2 miles per shift. You measured it? For a week? Adrian looked at her cart, then down the long corridor. What would it cost? Less than 1 injury claim. That answer stayed with him. He asked her to walk him through the proposal. Nia initially refused. Her rooms were behind schedule, and speaking privately with the heir to the company was not a privilege for someone in her position. It was a risk. Adrian told her he would arrange additional coverage. She did not believe him until another attendant arrived 10 minutes later. Together, they walked the service areas. Nia showed him shelves positioned too high for shorter employees, broken wheels left unrepaired, and linen routes designed for a hotel layout that had changed 15 years earlier. She did not complain. She explained. That difference impressed him more than anger would have. At the end of the tour, Adrian asked why she had declined 2 supervisory positions. One was in Boston, one was in Dallas. Both paid more. My father needed surgery. And the third? It required rotating nights. Why does that matter? My brother was 14. Adrian folded the proposal. You've made a lot of decisions around your family. They've made decisions around me. He nodded, but Nia noticed that he did not seem to understand the kind of choices she meant. 3 days later, half the supply stations were rearranged. Daly took credit for the improvement during the morning meeting. Nia said nothing. Adrian did. He entered the room before Daly finished explaining his new operational plan. The proposal came from Ms. Carter, Adrian said. Every attendant turned toward Nia. Daly's face tightened. Adrian continued. It should have been implemented months ago. The correction lasted less than 30 seconds. Its consequences lasted much longer. Some employees looked at Nia with new respect. Others looked at her with concern. At the Beaumont Grand, attention from an owner could lift a person quickly. It could also make them visible to people who preferred them unseen. Celeste Whitmore arrived the following Monday. She entered the lobby beneath a wave of assistants, garment bags, floral consultants, and public relations staff. Her engagement to Adrian had not been formally announced, but everyone in senior management knew the gala would make it official. Celeste was elegant, composed, and accustomed to rooms changing shape around her. She saw Nia near the concierge desk and held out her coat without looking at her face. Nia did not take it. A junior assistant hurried forward. Celeste finally looked at the badge on Nia's chest. Housekeeping doesn't handle coats? Not in the lobby? How specific? Adrian approached before Nia could answer. He greeted Celeste with a kiss on the cheek. She watched his eyes move toward Nia. It was brief, but not brief enough. That evening, a private dinner for the Whitmore family nearly collapsed when a refrigeration problem spoiled several prepared desserts. The executive chef argued with the event director. Servers waited without instructions. Celeste threatened to cancel the tasting. Nia was cleaning a nearby suite when Rosa Alvarez found her. "You know the banquet floors better than anyone," Rosa said. "I clean them. You also notice everything." Nia entered the service kitchen and assessed the problem. She remembered that a smaller event upstairs had canceled its pastry order. She redirected the unused desserts, adjusted the plating with the kitchen staff, and reorganized the service sequence, so the delay appeared intentional. The Whitmores never learned there had been a problem. At the end of dinner, Adrian thanked the executive chef. The chef accepted. Nia had already returned to the hallway when Adrian called her back. "I was told the service plan was yours." The chef looked away. Nia said, "The staff made it work." Adrian raised his glass toward the servers, cooks, and attendants. "Then the staff deserves the credit." Celeste watched from across the table. Later, she found Nia replacing water in a guest suite. "You enjoy making yourself useful," Celeste said. "It's part of the job." Adrian notices usefulness. He sometimes mistakes it for character. Nia continued arranging the bottles. "And what do you mistake for character?" Celeste smiled. "You're either very brave or very inexperienced." "Those aren't opposites." Celeste walked toward the door, then paused. "People like Adrian are kind when kindness costs them nothing." Nia looked at her reflection in the mirror. "And what happens when it costs them something?" Celeste's smile disappeared. "That's when people remember who they are." Arthur returned to the hotel after 4 days of observation. His doctors ordered rest. Arthur interpreted rest as permission to walk through the property at a slower speed. He began asking for Nia. At first, she assumed he wanted to thank her. Instead, Arthur asked her to accompany him through the hotel's oldest sections. He showed her a sealed staircase behind the ballroom and a small service alcove that had once been the front office. "The first desk was there," he said. "1 bell, 6 keys. My wife kept the books in a biscuit tin." Nia smiled. "That sounds secure. No one stole from us because there was nothing to steal." Arthur carried the bronze key each day. He told Nia it had opened room 101 before the hotel replaced its locks. Why keep it? To remember that before the company owned buildings, we opened doors. Nia understood why Adrian loved him. She also began to understand why Adrian was frustrated with him. Arthur spoke beautifully about workers, dignity, and service. Yet he had remained absent while people like Samuel were hurt beneath the name he created. One afternoon, Arthur asked about Nia's father. "Samuel Carter," he said. "East entrance." "You remember him?" "I remember anyone who could tell an arriving guest what they needed before they said it. He worked here 26 years. Arthur's gaze dropped. "I know." Nia waited. Arthur offered nothing more. That silence unsettled her. Adrian joined them during their walks whenever his schedule allowed. He and Nia began speaking about the hotel rather than their lives. But the distinction weakened over time. He learned that Nia attended class 3 nights a week. She learned that Adrian had studied finance because Victoria believed hospitality could be learned later. He believed the hotel needed to modernize without losing its identity. Nia believed it had already lost part of that identity because executives talked about guests while ignoring the employees who served them. He did not defend the company. That surprised her. One night, Adrian found Nia studying in the employee cafeteria after her shift. An open textbook rested beside an untouched sandwich. He sat across from her. "This table is for employees. I'm employed?" "Debatable." He smiled. She tried not to. Adrian asked about the assignment. Nia was building a financial plan for a small hospitality business. She showed him photographs of the Carter house, a 12-room boarding home her grandparents had operated on the south side. The building had been closed for years. Samuel still owned it, but medical debt threatened the property. Nia wanted to restore it as an affordable guest house for families visiting nearby hospitals. "Not luxury," she said. "Clean rooms, a real breakfast, staff who learn why people are in the city." Adrian studied the photographs. "This could work. You've seen 3 pictures. I've seen worse proposals receive millions. That isn't comforting." He offered to review her financial plan. Nia declined. He offered a second time, without money or influence attached. She finally agreed. Over the next week, they met in public areas after her shift. Adrian reviewed costs. Nia corrected his assumptions about labor. He suggested charging more. She explained that the entire point was to serve people excluded from hotel pricing. "You need profit," he said. "I need sustainability." They're connected. They're not identical. Their disagreements became a form of intimacy. Adrian looked forward to them. Nia feared that she did too. Then Samuel's physical therapy office called to say an anonymous payment had covered 6 additional months of treatment. Nia knew immediately who had done it. She confronted Adrian in the underground employee entrance. "You paid my father's bill." He did not pretend otherwise. "He needs the therapy. That wasn't your decision. He was injured working for this company." Nia went still. Adrian realized his mistake. "How do you know about the accident?" she asked. He looked toward the security camera above the door. "Not here. Here is exactly where you're going to answer." Adrian lowered his voice. "When you told my grandfather your father's name, he reacted. I reviewed the old file. You read his settlement?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because the company should have covered his treatment." Nia's anger shifted. "What do you mean, should have?" Adrian hesitated. "Samuel's injury report says he ignored a safety barrier. But the maintenance logs show the barrier had been reported broken twice." Nia felt the air leave her lungs. "My father said he slipped. He signed an agreement accepting partial responsibility. He would never—" "He may have been pressured." She stepped away from him. For 8 years, Samuel had told Nia the accident was his fault. He said he had moved too quickly across a wet service entrance and fallen from a loading platform. Adrian continued carefully. The settlement prevented further claims. It also included an internal note recommending that one immediate family member receive employment consideration. Nia touched the badge on her chest. Her first job at the Beaumont had never been a favor from Samuel's former manager. It had been part of the price of his silence. "You knew this when you started talking to me. I learned it after we met. And you paid his treatment because you felt guilty, because it was right. You didn't ask us. I thought you'd refuse. I would have. That doesn't make the bill less real." "No, it makes the choice mine." Adrian looked genuinely wounded, which made Nia angrier. "You don't get to repair your family's conscience by entering mine without permission." She walked away. That night, Samuel finally told her the truth. After the accident, company lawyers visited him in the hospital. They warned that contesting the report could take years. His insurance had already stopped covering part of the rehabilitation. Nia was 21. Eli was 9. Samuel believed he might never walk again. The Beaumont representatives offered a modest settlement, continued health insurance for 18 months, and a promise that Nia would be considered for stable employment. "I thought I was protecting you," he said. "You let me believe it was your fault. I couldn't stand the way you looked at that hotel. You were so proud when they hired you. I was proud because I thought they respected you." Samuel's eyes filled. "I wanted one good thing to survive." Eli stood in the kitchen doorway. He had heard everything. "I'm leaving school," he said. Nia turned. "No, you can't keep paying for all of this. We'll figure it out." "You've been figuring it out for 8 years." Samuel struck the floor once with his cane. "You will finish school. And watch her kill herself working for the people who did this to you." Nia flinched. Eli stormed out. The next morning, Nia returned Adrian's financial notes for the Carter house. She also handed him a copy of Samuel's settlement. "I want the case reopened." Adrian nodded. "Then reopen it publicly," she said. "No anonymous payment. No private apology. My mother controls the legal committee. Then I suppose we'll find out what your concern costs. If you believe dignity matters most when defending it becomes expensive, subscribe to True Worth Films." Because Nia had just asked a billionaire's heir to prove whether his principles existed outside private conversation. Adrian requested a formal review that afternoon. Victoria denied it before the end of the day. She summoned him to her office overlooking the river. The room contained no family photographs, except one of Arthur opening the hotel in 1968. "You accessed a sealed settlement," Victoria said. "I accessed a company record. A settled record. The report was false. The report was negotiated. A broken safety barrier was removed from the final file." Victoria closed the folder. "Your grandfather knew." Adrian stared at her. "He approved the settlement structure. Did he know Samuel was blamed?" "He knew a legal challenge could expose the company during a refinancing crisis. So you buried it." "We preserved 34 hotels and 12,000 jobs." You protected the company by sacrificing one employee. We compensated him. You bought his silence while he was medicated and terrified. Victoria's face hardened. You have spent too much time with that woman. Her name is Nia. That distinction is exactly the problem. Adrian stood. I'm reopening the case. If you do, every settlement from that period becomes vulnerable. Lenders will review our liability. The Whitmore agreement may collapse. Then it collapses. Victoria studied her son as though seeing a stranger. You think courage is making a dramatic decision without understanding who pays for it? And you think responsibility means the weakest person always pays first. Adrian left before she could answer. Victoria watched him cross the outer office. Then she called Celeste. Nia and Adrian did not speak for 4 days. On the 5th, Arthur asked Nia to accompany him to the old ballroom entrance. The space was closed for renovation. Dust sheets covered the furniture, and a single work light glowed near the wall. Arthur sat on an old bench. Adrian told me you know about your father. He told you he was reopening the case? He told me he was angry with me. Is he wrong? Arthur rubbed the bronze key between his fingers. No. Nia waited. I was recovering from surgery when Samuel was injured, Arthur said. Victoria was managing the refinancing. The company was close to losing control of several properties, and that made my father expendable? No, but you let them treat him that way. Arthur's eyes lowered. Yes, it was not the answer Nia expected. She had prepared herself for excuses. His honesty hurt more. I told myself I was protecting thousands of employees, he continued. What I protected was the building. Buildings are easier to love than people. They never ask whether your principles survived your success. Nia looked around the covered ballroom. My father still checks whether the front light is on before he goes to bed. Arthur's face changed. He used to leave it on for late arrivals. You remember that. I remember more than I correct. He held out the bronze key. Keep this until I earn the right to ask for it back. Nia did not want a symbol, but she accepted it because refusing would allow Arthur to turn regret into another speech. Adrian found her near the employee entrance that evening. He said the review had been blocked. Nia was not surprised. He told her he intended to challenge the decision at the next board meeting. You'll lose, she said. Probably. Then what? I try again. She looked at him. For the first time, she saw that he was not asking her to trust him. He was explaining what he would do, whether she trusted him or not. That mattered. Their work on Samuel's case resumed cautiously. Adrian obtained partial maintenance record. Nia found an old notebook Samuel had kept during his years at the hotel. It contained handwritten observations about broken doors, delayed elevators, luggage routes, and guest habits. Samuel called it useless. Nia recognized it as evidence of how carefully he had once seen the building. While reviewing the entries, Adrian noticed Nia's hand resting near his. Neither moved away. The moment was quiet. Then Celeste entered the small meeting room. She looked at the papers, at Adrian, and at the distance between their hands. Am I interrupting an audit or a confession? Adrian stood. Celeste, we need to discuss the gala. We need to discuss the engagement. Nia gathered the papers. Celeste watched her. No, Adrian said. Stay. Nia did not. She left them alone. Behind the closed door, Adrian told Celeste he would not announce their engagement. Celeste remained calm for almost a minute. She reminded him that the merger depended on confidence between the families. She reminded him that her father had committed nearly $2 billion in financing. She reminded him that both families had spent years preparing the agreement. Adrian said a marriage was not a financing instrument. Celeste replied, that is a very noble realization to have after enjoying every benefit of the arrangement. She asked whether he loved Nia. Adrian did not answer quickly enough. That was answer enough. Later that night, Nia stood beneath the front awning, waiting for the rain to slow. Adrian joined her. I told Celeste. Nia watched taxis move along the street. And she knows the engagement won't happen. Your mother? Not yet. Then nothing has happened. He turned toward her. You think I'm lying? I think you've lived in a world where private intentions feel like decision. Rain struck the awning above them. Adrian said, I'm trying. I know. Is that not enough? It's more than nothing. He almost laughed. Nia looked at him then. The exhaustion in his face made him appear younger, less protected. She told him she had once believed hard work could make any place safe. The Beaumont had taught her that competence could make a person valuable without making them protect. Adrian said he wanted to change that. She replied, "You can't promise me a future inside a house you don't control. I'm not asking you to live inside it." "Then what are you asking?" He stepped closer. "For the chance to become someone you don't have to fear depending on." Nia's breath caught. Adrian kissed her gently. For several seconds, she allowed herself to forget the hotel, the settlement, the engagement, and the difference between their lives. Then she stepped away. "You still have to tell your mother." "I will." "Tell me after you do." From a parked car across the street, Celeste saw them. The following morning, Victoria offered Nia a promotion. The position was at a Beaumont property in Seattle. It included a higher salary, management training, relocation assistance, and housing for Samuel. Nia read the offer in Victoria's office. "This is generous. You've earned advancement. Then why does it require leaving Chicago next week?" Victoria folded her hands. "Opportunity often requires movement. Does Adrian know?" "This has nothing to do with my son." Nia placed the document on the desk. "Then you won't mind if I show it to him." Victoria's expression cooled. "You are an intelligent woman, Miss Carter. Intelligent people recognize doors before they close. My father taught me to recognize when someone is showing me the exit." Victoria stood. "The merger will protect this company during a difficult expansion. Adrian has responsibilities you cannot understand." "I understand responsibility." "No. You understand survival. They are not the same." Nia met her gaze. "Survival is responsibility when powerful people keep deciding your losses are acceptable." She left the offer behind. That afternoon, Adrian confronted his mother. He told her the engagement would not be announced at the gala. Victoria told him that if he humiliated the Whitmore family publicly, the financing would disappear and the board would reconsider his succession. Adrian said he understood. She asked whether Nia understood what thousands of employees could lose. "She didn't create this arrangement, but she benefits from destroying it. She hasn't asked me for anything. That makes her more dangerous, not less. A person who cannot be bought must be removed another way." Adrian stared at his mother. Victoria smiled faintly. "Do not be dramatic. I offered her a career. You offered her exile. I offered her a future. She already has one." Victoria looked toward Arthur's photograph. "Then she should be careful not to confuse it with yours." 10 days remained before the gala. Adrian requested another legal review of Samuel's case. Nia submitted her final proposal for the Carter house. Arthur's health improved enough for him to attend short meetings. Eli returned to school, though he continued working too many delivery shifts. For a few days, Hope entered the Carter home carefully. A non-profit lender agreed to inspect the Carter house. Samuel's therapy resumed. Adrian secured enough support from 2 board members to force a preliminary hearing on the old settlement. Nia and Adrian began speaking openly, though only outside the hotel. One evening, Adrian visited the Carter house. The old building smelled of dust, wood, and rain. Nia showed him the narrow rooms and the dining area where her grandmother once served breakfast. Samuel sat near the entrance beneath a lamp. He studied Adrian for a long time before offering his hand. "You look like your grandfather did before he learned to enter a room without expecting it to belong to him." Adrian accepted the insult. Eli did not. "You're still going to inherit billions?" he said. "Possibly." "And you want us to believe you're risking something?" Nia warned him. Adrian said, "He's right." Eli looked surprised. Adrian continued, "I haven't lost anything yet." Samuel tapped his cane once against the floor. "Then don't ask my daughter to reward you for what you might do." Adrian nodded. Before leaving, he stood beneath the entrance light. Nia joined him. "This place feels different when the light is on," he said. "My father always keeps it on." "For guests? For anyone who gets home late?" Adrian looked back at Samuel through the glass. "You all make ordinary things sound like promises, only because people keep breaking them." The next day, Arthur gave Nia the bronze key again. This time, He fastened it to a simple leather cord. "For the Carter house," he said. "It doesn't open anything there. Not yet. Temporary hope is most dangerous when it convinces people the threat has passed. Subscribe now." Because while Nia was beginning to imagine a future, someone inside the Beaumont Grand was copying the key to destroy it. Marcus Reed received the order from Victoria in person. She did not tell him to frame Nia. She told him that a security test was required before the gala. Celeste's assistant would need temporary access to employee areas. Marcus was to clone one housekeeping credential, disable 2 cameras for maintenance, and ensure that any irregularities were contained internally. Marcus understood what she was asking. He also understood what refusing would cost. His wife's cancer treatment had left them nearly bankrupt. 3 months earlier, Victoria had arranged a company hardship loan after the official program rejected him. The loan agreement could be called immediately if he were terminated. "You said this would protect my position," Marcus told her. "It will protect the company that provides it." "That isn't the same thing." "No," Victoria said. "It is the reason the first thing remains possible." Celeste chose Nia's card because Nia's duties gave her legitimate access to several executive floors. The cloned card alone would not be enough. They needed a reason for Nia to be near the suite. Celeste created one. 3 nights before the gala, she approached Nia in the employee dining room without assistance or security. "I owe you an apology," Celeste said. Nia continued packing her bag. "For which part?" Celeste sat opposite her. "I have treated you as though you caused Adrian's decision." "I didn't." "I know." Nia looked up. Celeste's face appeared tired rather than hostile. She explained that the engagement had been planned since she and Adrian were young. Not formally, but through schools, family events, business trips, and expectations neither had chosen. "I don't love him the way stories require," Celeste said. "But I built my life around the role his family offered me. That doesn't make me responsible for losing it." "No, but perhaps it explains why I was cruel." Nia did not forgive her. She also did not dismiss the pain as fault. That was the opening Celeste needed. On the night of the gala, Arthur would rest in a private suite near the ballroom. Celeste asked Nia to make sure his medication and water were delivered personally, because Arthur trusted her. Nia agreed. Rosa saw Celeste leave the employee area. What did she want? "To pretend we're both victims of the same arrangement." "Are you?" "No." "Good." Rosa lowered her voice. "I saw 2 men measuring the laundry entrance yesterday. Outsourcing company." Nia looked toward the corridor. Several employees had mentioned strange inspections. New timekeeping equipment had arrived. Supervisors requested updated personnel files. Rosa had found a printed list near the administrative laundry desk. 27 names were marked in red. Most belonged to older employees. Nia's name was at the top. She showed Adrian. He confronted Victoria. Victoria claimed the names were part of a staffing analysis required by the merger. Adrian requested the full report. She refused. That evening, he told Nia that the planned restructuring could eliminate nearly 200 positions across the flagship hotel. Nia stared at the list. "This isn't only about me. It may never have been." The realization changed everything. Victoria did not simply want Nia away from Adrian. She needed a scandal involving employee access, theft, and security failure. Such a scandal could justify replacing long-term staff with a contracted workforce under the language of risk management. Nia's accusation would become the first domino. The gala began beneath gold light and orchestral music. Celeste wore the Whitmore necklace during the reception. It had belonged to her mother and contained a central diamond surrounded by smaller stones. Guests photographed it. The object's visibility was intentional. At 7:40, Celeste removed the necklace in her suite. At 7:44, Nia received a message through the staff system instructing her to take Arthur's medication upstairs. At 7:46, Celeste's assistant entered a service restroom carrying a garment bag. Inside was a duplicate housekeeping uniform. At 7:48, Marcus disabled a camera near the executive service corridor, recording the interruption as routine maintenance. At 7:51, Nia entered Arthur's suite. He was pale and confused. She placed the medication beside him and realized his condition was worsening. Arthur tried to reach Adrian but pressed the wrong contact. A voice message began recording without either of them noticing. Nia called the private physician. While she remained with Arthur, Celeste's assistant, wearing Nia's copied uniform, moved through the corridor. Rosa saw a woman near the employee elevator. She noticed expensive silver heels beneath the uniform trouser. Before she could approach, her supervisor called her away. At 7:53, the cloned card registered entry into Celeste's suite. At 7:55, the necklace was placed inside the lining of Nia's locker. At 7:57, Marcus restored the camera. At 8 o'clock, Arthur was taken through a private exit to the hospital. At 8:10, Celeste entered the ballroom without the necklace. She waited 18 minutes before touching her throat and calling for security. The public search began. Celeste insisted that staff areas be checked because the necklace had disappeared after room service and housekeeping employees accessed her floor. Marcus led the search. Nia was called from the ballroom perimeter, where she had been helping reposition service stations. Her locker was opened without her union representative present. The necklace was found beneath her folded uniform. The bronze key lay beside it. Everything happened exactly as Victoria intended, except for Samuel. Eli had been monitoring Nia's location through a family phone app because she had not responded to his messages about a strange access alert. When he saw her phone move toward the service exit, he called Samuel. They arrived before security could remove her quietly. The accusation became public. Adrian reached the corridor moments after the necklace was found. Marcus showed him the access log. Celeste showed him the jewelry. Victoria showed him the ballroom filled with investors waiting for his decision. Nia showed him nothing except her face. Adrian chose delay. To him, it felt responsible. To Nia, it felt like abandonment. After the officers escorted her through the ballroom, reporters captured images of her uniform, her father's cane, and Eli shouting at security. By midnight, the story was online. Maid accused of stealing Iris's $20 million necklace. By morning, another headline appeared. Billionaire Heir's secret relationship with accused employee. The hotel suspended Nia pending investigation. No other hotel would interview her. Someone leaked Adrian's payments toward Samuel's treatment, making them appear to be gifts from a wealthy lover. Commentators called Nia calculated. Some accused Adrian of exploiting an employee. Others accused Nia of seducing him to gain access to the family. The truth became less important than the version people found entertaining. Adrian tried to call. Nia blocked him. He visited the Carter home. Samuel refused to open the door. Adrian stood on the porch for 14 minutes before leaving. Nia watched from the hallway. Part of her wanted to hear him say he had made a mistake. The stronger part remembered that he had been present when the choice mattered. The company offered Nia a settlement. If she agreed not to challenge the dismissal, not to speak publicly, and not to pursue claims related to Samuel's accident, the Beaumont Group would decline to seek criminal charges. Nia tore the agreement in half. The next day, the lender reviewing the Carter house withdrew. The property's outstanding debt was transferred to a collection firm connected to a Beaumont financial subsidiary. Samuel stared at the note. "They're taking the building because you refused to disappear." "No," Nia said. "They're taking it because they think we'll be too afraid to stop them." Eli opened his laptop. "I can get into their system." "You will not. They cloned your car." "We don't know that. The elevator log doesn't match." Nia turned. "What do you mean?" Eli had saved a screenshot from the family tracking application. It showed Nia's phone inside Arthur's suite when her employee card supposedly entered Celeste's room. "The phone location isn't precise enough," Nia said. "But look at the time. You went from the service elevator to Arthur's suite. Their report says you used the same elevator to reach Celeste's floor less than 2 minutes later. The suites are on adjacent floors. That elevator doesn't move that fast." Samuel lifted his head. "What did you say?" Eli showed him the record. Samuel asked for the old maintenance notebook. Nia found it inside a box in the closet. Samuel turned through pages of handwritten entries until he found a diagram of the executive service elevator. The inner door hesitates on 23, he said. Always has. 7 seconds to open, 6 to close. Longer when the temperature dropped. That was years ago, Eli said. It was never repaired properly. Nia studied the timeline. Even if she had left Arthur immediately, the official record placed her at Celeste's suite too quickly. It was a crack, not proof, but a crack. Eli wanted access to the modern elevator system. Nia refused to let him hack the hotel. He agreed. Then he did it anyway, using a login saved from a former school internship program. Eli entered a vendor portal connected to the Beaumont network. He found nothing useful. The system detected the access within minutes. Marcus traced it to the Carter home. The company contacted the police. Suddenly, the Beaumont lawyers had a new narrative. Nia's family had attempted to alter digital records after the theft. Eli was questioned. Because he was 17 and had not changed any data, he was released to Sam, but the damage was done. Adrian saw the security report and realized Marcus was moving unusually fast to criminalize the family. He confronted him. Marcus remained composed. The boy entered a protected system to search elevator records, which could support a fabricated alibi or reveal a real one. Marcus looked at Adrian carefully. You authorized the removal of Ms. Carter. I authorized an investigation. The distinction may help you sleep. It doesn't change what happened. Adrian left with the sentence following him. Outside the police station, Nia turned on Eli. You could have gone to jail. I was trying to help. You made them think we're criminals. They already think that. You gave them evidence. I gave them access. Samuel stepped between them. Eli's face crumpled. I can't keep watching you lose everything. Nia lowered her voice. Then don't become another thing I have to lose. Eli walked away. Samuel watched him go. You said that because you were afraid. I said it because it's true. No, he is not a burden. I didn't call him one. You made him hear it. Nia looked down at the pavement. Her family had spent years protecting one another with secrets, sacrifices, and decisions made alone. The result was that none of them trusted the others to endure the truth. That night, Nia found Eli sleeping on the floor of the Carter house. He had gone there instead of home. She sat beside him. I'm sorry. He kept his eyes closed. I know. No, you don't. I've spent so long trying to keep you from carrying this family that I never noticed you were already carrying the Eli opened his eyes. I don't want school if it means you break. And I don't want help that costs you your future. So what do we do? Nia looked around the old lobby. We stopped deciding for each other. She told him they would investigate legally. Together. But first they would save the Carter house. Nia contacted former guests her grandparents had. Rosa brought linens that a charity hotel program was discarding. Samuel called retired workers who knew plumbing, electrical systems, and carpentry. Within a week, 3 rooms were safe enough to use. The first guests were not tourists. They were 2 Beaumont employees whose hours had been cut after they supported Nia publicly. Then came a family whose child was receiving treatment at a nearby hospital. Nia charged what they could afford. Eli built a simple reservation page. Samuel returned to the entrance each evening and left the light on. The Carter house began breathing again. Nia had lost her job. She had not lost her ability to create dignity for someone else. If you want to see what happens when a woman stops waiting for powerful people to clear her name and begins gathering the truth herself, subscribe now. Nia's greatest loss had just become the place where her strength returned. Rosa visited late one night. She brought the list of employees marked for dismissal. She also brought, if they know I copied this, I lose my pension. Nia took the paper but did not open it. Then take it back. Rosa looked offended. You need it. I need you safe. I was safe when they accused you. That isn't the same as being responsible. Rosa sat at the old breakfast table. She confessed that she had seen someone in a housekeeping uniform near the executive elevator during the gala. The woman wore silver designer heels. Nika's work shoes were black and flat. Why didn't you say it? Because I didn't see her face. Because Marcus told me mistaken identification would expose me to legal act. Because I am 60 months from retirement. You're 52. Exactly. I have been counting for years. Nia understood. Fear did not make Rosa disloyal. It made the cost visible. Don't testify yet, Nia said. Rosa looked surprised. We find something stronger first. Samuel spread his old maintenance notebook beside the printed access report. Together, they reconstructed the elevator. Nia remembered the exact moment she heard the car arrive while she was inside Arthur's. It had made a low, double chime, followed by a grinding vibration. Samuel tapped the page. That sound means it stopped below you. How can you know? The upper bell was replaced. Different pitch. Eli searched public permit records and found that the elevator's control system had been upgraded. But the mechanical door assembly remained original. More importantly, he found mention of an independent maintenance terminal in the basement. The terminal stored local diagnostic records for 30 days before overwriting them. 26 days had passed since the gala. They had 4 days. The terminal was not connected to the network Eli had accessed. Reaching it legally required authorization. Nia contacted the elevator maintenance contractor. They refused to release records without a court order or property owner approval. Adrian could provide the approval. Nia did not want to ask him. Samuel said, "Then decide whether your anger matters more than the truth." He had his chance. Yes. He let them take me. Yes. He looked at me and chose the hotel. Samuel's voice softened. And now you get to choose whether using the access he has means forgiving him. Nia knew it did not. She unblocked Adrian's number. He answered before the first ring ended. "Nia, I need access to the basement maintenance terminal." He did not ask her to meet him. He did not ask whether she believed him. He said, "Tell me when." Adrian had been conducting his own investigation. Victoria restricted his access to security records after he challenged the official finding. That made him more suspicious. He reviewed Marcus's financial disclosures and found payments toward his wife's treatment made through an executive hardship account controlled by Victoria. The payments were legal. The timing was not. The largest transfer occurred 2 days before the gala. Adrian also discovered that Celeste's assistant had purchased a portable access card encoder through a private events company. When he confronted Celeste, she denied knowing anything about the purchase. Adrian asked why the invoice had been sent to her personal office. She replied that assistants bought dozens of devices for a. What event requires cloning an employee credentials? Celeste's expression changed. Only slightly. It was enough. Adrian asked whether she planted the neck. You are accusing me because a woman you barely know looked at you with tears in her eyes. I know she didn't steal it. You didn't know that when you let security drag her through the ballroom. The words struck harder because they were true. Celeste approached him. Do not turn your cowardice into my crime. Was it you? You want this to be simple? A jealous fiancé, a cruel mother, an innocent maid, and you, the tragic man who finally becomes. Answer me. Celeste's voice low. If Nia had accepted the job in Seattle, none of this would have happened. Adrian stared at her. That was not a confession. It was worse. It was not. He went directly to Victoria. She refused to discuss the case. Adrian placed Marcus's payment records on her desk. Then he placed the card encoder invoice beside them. Victoria looked at both documents without touching them. You have enough to create suspicion, she said. Not true. I have enough to stop the merger. You stop the merger, and every lender watching us will assume the accusation is credible. It is credible. It is containable. A woman's life was destroyed. A woman who was offered money, advancement, housing, and every opportunity to leave with dignity. You framed her because she refused to be. Victoria finally looked at him. I protected your future. You protected your control. I protected you from becoming a man who destroys an empire for an infatuation. Adrian gathered the paper. Victoria said, if you walk into that signing ceremony with an accusation you cannot prove, you will lose the board and any ability to help. You still think power is the only way to help some. It is the only way people know. Adrian. He met Nia in the basement the following morning. It was the first time they had stood face to face since the gap. She wore jeans, a dark coat, and no Beaumont bag. Adrian wanted to apologize. Nia did not let him begin. We have less than a day before the terminal overwrites the rest. The maintenance contractor opened the room under Adrian's written authorization. A technician extracted the diagnostic log while Nia, Eli, Samuel, and Adrian watched. The record showed the elevator arriving at floor 22 at 7:53. The official access report showed Nia's card entering Celeste's suite on floor 24 at the same second. The elevator could not have carried Nia from Arthur's suite on 23 to Celeste's floor because it was below. Someone had used a different route or cloned card. It was the first independent technical evidence. Eli asked whether the terminal showed who operated the elevator. It did not. Nia asked whether the record could be certified. The technician. Adrian looked at her. You were right. Nia gathered the printed report. About which part? The investigation. Say the rest. He understood. You were right that the people accusing you controlled. She held his gaze. And you let them. Yet, no excuse followed. That mattered more than any speech could have. Arthur regained consciousness that afternoon. He asked for Adrian. When Adrian arrived, Arthur was weak but I sent you something, Arthur said. When? The gala. I thought I called you. Adrian checked his voicemail archive. A message from Arthur had been saved without notification because it contained nearly 4 minutes of silence and background. At first, they heard only Nia asking Arthur to take his medication. Then Arthur said her name. Then came the low double chime of the service elevator. Samuel listened twice. That's the lower. The technician confirmed it. The audio placed Nia inside Arthur's suite, while the elevator registered below their. But the recording carried another revelation. After Nia called the doctor and stepped toward the door, Arthur whispered something. Victoria knows about the old agreement. She cannot let Adrian open. Nia looked at him. He closed his eyes. You knew she would use my father's. I knew she feared the. Did you know about the necklace? No. Did you know she would come after me? Arthur did not answer quickly enough. He had not known the method. He had known the day. And he had remained silent. Nia placed the bronze key on his hospital. You gave me like it meant something. It did. Then why didn't it open the truth? Arthur looked at the key. Because I carried it as a memory instead of a responsibility. Adrian stood beside the window. He had spent years believing Arthur represented the conscience of the family. Now he understood that kindness without action had allowed Victoria's system to grow. Arthur turned to her. Your mother learned from me. I taught her that survival excused delay. Delay became silence. Silence became permission. Adrian said, then help us end it. The merger signing would take place the next day. Victoria moved the ceremony forward by 3 days after learning Adrian had accessed the maintenance term. Once signed, the Whitmore Group would gain partial control of the hotel's security systems and employment restructured. The clock had shortened. Nisha assembled the evidence at the Carter house. The elevator log established impossibility. Rosa could establish the disguised uniform. The card encoder invoice connected Celeste's office to cloning equipment. Marcus's payment records created motive and leverage. The staffing list showed the wider plan. Samuel's settlement showed an established pattern of institutional concealment. Arthur's message placed Nia in his suite and exposed his knowledge of Victoria's. But one piece remained. They needed proof that Marcus had altered the official access. Adrian confronted him again. This time, he did not. He placed the documents on the table and told Marcus what would happen. The card encoder would be traced. The maintenance log would disprove the access. Victoria would claim security acted independently. Celeste would claim her assistant bought the device without authorization. Marcus would become the only person with direct control of the. You think my mother will protect you, Adrian said. She won't. Marcus looked at the. My wife would have died without that. I know. You don't know. You're... But Nia's father was injured, and my family used his fear to buy silence. Now they used... Marcus's jaw tightened. I didn't plant the net. You made the lie look of... I was told it would be found quiet. She would be offered a sell. You saw what happened. Marcus looked away. Adrian said, "You can cooperate now, or you can wait until Victoria gives your name to the..." Marcus still refused. But that night, he accessed a private storage account and downloaded the original logs, the altered logs, and 2 messages from Victoria's office. He did not send them to Adrian. He kept them as insurance. The next morning, Victoria suspended. That was the pressure that broke his loyalty. Marcus contacted Nia. He would release the files only if her attorney guaranteed they would be delivered to investigators with proof that he had cooperated before charges were filed. Nia wanted to refuse. Samuel reminded her that justice did not require pretending Marcus was innocent. It required using the truth without allowing him to escape responsibility. They agreed. The original records showed 2 credentials at the same time. Nia's authentic card was registered at Arthur's suite through a secondary medication cabinet. The cloned card entered Celeste's. Marcus had deleted the first record from the official record. The chain was complete. The final CTA came as Nia stood outside the Beaumont Grand holding the evidence that could restore her name but destroy the company that had fed her family for years. Subscribe to True Worth Film, because the truth was finally, and everyone inside that ballroom would have to reveal what they valued most. The signing ceremony began at 8 o'clock. The ballroom had been restored after the scandal. The same chandeliers glowed above a larger stage. The same service corridor remained hidden behind velvet partitions. Victoria stood at the podium. Celeste sat beside her father. Adrian's chair remained empty. Investors. Victoria announced that Adrian had been delayed by a personal matter, but would arrive before the documents were signed. Then the ballroom doors opened. Nia entered first. She wore a dark blue suit from a second-hand store Rosa had altered for her. Samuel walked beside her with his cane. Eli carried a laptop. Rosa followed with 3 Beaumont employees and a laborer. Adrian entered behind. The room erupted. Victoria stepped away from the... This is a private corporate... Nia continued. So was the search of my life. Security moved toward her. Adrian stepped between. She... Victoria looked at. You are not in control of security tonight. No, Adrian said. That is part of the problem. Celeste rose. She is under criminal investigation. Nia reached the center. Then you should be interested in the... Reporters near the rear doors began. Victoria ordered them removed. Arthur's voice came through the ballroom. His face appeared on the large screen behind the... He was seated in his hospital. Victoria stared at the... Father, this is not the time. It is years past the time. Nia began with the elevator. She explained that at 7:53, her employee card was recorded entering Celeste's suite on the 24th. At that exact moment, the independent maintenance terminal showed the service elevator below Arthur. The certified diagnostic report appeared on the screen. Celeste folded her arms. That does not prove Ms. Carter wasn't using this. Nia, you're... She played Arthur's... Her own voice filled the ballroom, speaking to Arthur inside his... Then came the double... The elevator technician certification appeared beside the audio analysis. The sound proved that the elevator was below the suite, while Nia remained with... Celeste looked toward Victoria. Nia displayed the original access record recovered by Mark. It showed Nia's authentic card operating the medication cabinet inside Arthur's room. At the same moment, a duplicate credential. Celeste's. The official report deleted the first record, Nia said, because the first record proved there were 2. Marcus entered from the side aisle with his... Gasps moved through the... Victoria's face lost... Marcus confirmed that he had altered the... He admitted cloning Nia's credential under instructions from Victoria's office. He refused to claim that Victoria explicitly ordered a Instead, he produced the method. One instructed him to create a containable employee access in. Another instructed him to ensure that the employee involved could not challenge the result before the. Celeste interrupted. This man is trying to. He is, Nia said. That doesn't make the files. Celeste turned toward her. Nia displayed the invoice for the card encoder purchased by Celeste's. Celeste said assistants purchased equipment without her. Rosa stepped. She described the woman in a housekeeping uniform near the service elevator. The woman wore silver. Rosa said. The same pair Miss Whitmore wore when she entered the. Celeste looked down. She was not wearing them. Eli connected his laptop to the. He displayed photographs from the event company's preparation art. One image showed Celeste's assistant carrying a garment bag into the employee rest. A silver shoe protruded from the. The metadata placed the photograph minutes before the cloned card was. Celeste's father's. She looked toward it. You were going to humiliate me for. Adrian said. All of you planned my life. You built a merger around a marriage and expected me to smile when he discarded me for. Nia's expression. So, you decided to make the maid dispose. Celeste's eyes filled, but her voice remained. I decided to remove the person who threatened. Victoria stepped. That is a. Adrian turned toward her. No. He presented the staffing documents. The planned restructuring would have removed 186 employees after them. Most were long-serving workers whose contracts, pensions, or injury histories created higher costs. Nia's accusation had been designated internally as a possible justification for outsourcing security center. The ballroom. Until that moment, many employees had seen the scandal as something that happened to. Now they understood it had been designed to reach. Samuel walked toward the stage. His pace was. Every step forced the room to. He placed his settlement on the table beside the merger doc. This is what they gave me after I fell through a barrier they knew was. Victoria looked. Samuel con. They told me fighting would take years. They told me my children would lose our. They offered my daughter a job if I accept. One of the board members asked whether Arthur had approved the. Arthur answered from the. Yeah. The room went. Victoria turned toward him. Father. Arthur did not look away. I told myself I was saving. Victoria learned that language from. Every time we harmed one person, we counted how many others might. Eventually, we stopped seeing the person at. He described the old refinancing crisis. He admitted he had remained silent about unsafe conditions and coercive settlement. The confession did not absolve him. It implicated. That honesty changed the emotional balance of the. The story was no longer about one cruel woman and one innocent patient. It was about a legacy built through both action and. Arthur looked at me. The key I carried was supposed to remind me why we opened the first. Instead, it became proof that remembering a principle is not the same as living. Nia placed the bronze key on the signing. I didn't come back for. She removed the old Beaumont badge from her. Marcus had taken it during the. Adrian had recovered it from security and returned it before the ceremony. Nia set it beside. Victoria looked. What do you. Your name is. No, the evidence cleared it. You still haven't said what you. Victoria stared at the ballroom, the board, the investors, the workers. For the first time, she had no private room in which to control the. I authorized the security op. She said. To prevent Adrian from destroying the merger. Why? Because you would not leave. Nia nodded. There it was. Not a confession born from remorse. An admission forced. Victoria turned to. The methods were unacceptable, but the threat to the company was. The Whitmore financing protects thousands of employees and. We cannot allow one scandal to destroy one. Adrian. He walked onto the stage. He placed the executive keycard on. Then he removed the Beaumont family signet ring Victoria had given him when he joined the. She looked at the. What do you? What I should have done when she asked me to trust. Victoria lowered her voice. Do not perform for the. If you stop this signing, the succession committee will remove. Your voting shares are held through the family. Renouncing the succession triggers for. I know. You will lose the president. The residence, the aircraft access, the board compensation, everything attached to your. Victoria's composure finally. For her? Adrian looked toward Nia. For what I became when I failed. Victoria shook. You are throwing away generations of. Adrian placed the signet ring beside the. You taught me this name was worth. She taught me a name is worthless when it protects. He signed the succession renunciation before the board secretary could remove the. The legal counsel warned him that the decision would be difficult to. Adrian signed. The ballroom watched a billionaire's heir surrender the future prepared. There was no. Only the sound of the pen touched. Victoria looked at her son as though the signature had severed something physical between. You will regret this. Adrian answered. I already regret the choice I made when it cost me. He walked away from the. He stopped in front. She looked. He had done what the title of their story would later claim. He had given. But sacrifice did not erase. Nia said, you finally chose. She. That doesn't mean I can choose. His face tightened. He nodded. I know. For the first time, the Whitmore merger was suspended that night. The board placed Victoria on administrative leave pending an independent investigation. Celeste resigned from the negotiations and left the ballroom with her. She later faced charges related to evidence tampering and conspiracy. Her attorneys argued that Victoria had orchestrated, but the card encoder purchase, witness accounts, and messages from her assistant tied Celeste directly to the planted. Marcus cooperated with investigators. His cooperation reduced his eventual, but did not remove responsibility for falsifying security records and enabling the search of Nia's. Rosa kept her. The outsourcing plan was. The employees listed for dismissal remained at work, while an external labor review examined the company's past. Samuel's case was. The original maintenance reports proved the barrier had been defective before his settlement was voided on the grounds that material evidence had been. For the first time in 8 years, Samuel's medical treatment was recognized as the company's response. Arthur resigned from every remaining advisor. He placed a significant portion of his personal shares into an independent employee participation. The trust could not be controlled by Victoria, Adrian, or the. Its voting structure required employee representatives to approve major labor. It did not repair the past. It changed who would have power in the future. Adrian left the Beaumont penthouse with 2 suits. He returned the company car. His personal savings remained, but the majority of his wealth had been tied to the family trust and succession. He instructed his attorney not to challenge the. For several weeks, he stayed in a small apartment belonging to a college. He did not contact Nia. He sent documents to Samuel's lawyer. He testified in the investigation. He provided the board with access to internal communications. But he did not use any of those actions as a reason to ask for. Nia. She did not admit that. The Carter house opened 6 rooms by the beginning of. The building was still. Pipes rattled. The kitchen ceiling needed. One bathroom door refused to close unless lifted slightly. But every room was clean. Every guest was greeted by. Eli returned to school full-time and rebuilt the reservation system as his senior. Rosa joined Nia as operations manager after taking early retirement from the. Samuel stood at the entrance. Some nights, his hip hurt too badly to remain still. On those nights, he sat beside the door and greeted guests from a wooden. Nia completed her hotel administration. At the graduation ceremony, she saw Adrian in the back. He did not approach. He left after she received her. 2 weeks later, he came to the Carter house carrying a. Nia read it in the breakfast. You're applying for a job? Yes. You ran a hotel group. I failed one. That isn't usually listed under. She looked at the salary expectation. It was lower than what Rose. You can't live. I have. No. Nia closed the. Because you're building the kind of place my family claimed to believe. That sounds like another speech. Then don't hire. She stopped. Adrian had lost weight. The expensive suits were. His shirt was clean but ordinary. His watch had Nia asked what position. Whatever you. We need someone to manage vendor contracts, fix reservation errors, carry bags, and clean bathrooms when staff call. I can do 3 of those. Wait. I'm hoping you'll train me on. Despite herself, she smiled. Then this isn't. I know. This isn't a path back to your family's money. I know. You answered. Nia raised an eyebrow. She hired him for a 90-day. Adrian was terrible at making beds. He folded fitted sheets as though negotiating with hostile. Rosa made him repeat the process until he stopped blaming the corners. He was good at. He negotiated lower laundry prices without reducing. He built relationships with nearby clinics and helped families find Most importantly, he learned to receive instructions without treating obedience as humiliation. Nia watched. She did not measure his change by dramatic. She measured it by ordinary income. Whether he arrived, whether he stayed when the work became whether he listened when no one important was. One evening, a wealthy former Beaumont investor entered the Carter house. He recognized Adrian carrying. You're working here, Adrian answered. The man laughed. He asked whether this was a temporary statement before Adrian returned. Adrian looked toward. The investor offered him a position at another hotel. The salary was larger than the Carter house's annual. Adrian declined. After the man left, Nia asked. I'm not trying to prove I can suffer, he said. I'm trying to finish what I. That answer stayed. Months passed. Samuel received compensation through the reopened case. He used part of it to eliminate the debt on the Carter. Nia refused to use the remainder for luxury. Instead, they added accessible rooms and created a small emergency fund for families arriving from hospitals without enough. At the ceremony, he thanked Nia for refusing to let him exchange his future for the family. Arthur attended in a week. Victoria did. She had been removed as president and faced civil litigation from employees affected by the old settlement. She never asked Nia for. She did send Adrian one letter. He kept it unopened for 3. When he finally read it, Victoria did not defend the next. She wrote that she still believed the merger would have protected, but admitted she had stopped recognizing the difference between protecting Adrian and control. Adrian replied with 3 sentences. He told her he hoped she would cooperate fully with the employee. He told her he was safe. He told her that rebuilding a relationship would require truth without. He did not. Arthur visited the Carter house on its first anniversary. He carried the bronze. Nia met him beneath the end. I thought I gave that. He held it out. This time, I'm not asking you to carry my. She took. Arthur looked through the open door at Samuel greeting guests, Eli repairing the check-in, Rosa correcting Adrian's flower arrangement, and a young family eating breakfast near. I spent my life turning one open door into hundreds. Arthur, you turned one nearly lost building back into an open. Nia fastened the bronze key beside the entrance. It opened nothing. That night, the Carter house reached full occupancy for the first. Near midnight, a woman arrived with two. Her husband had been transferred unexpectedly to a nearby. Every affordable hotel in the area was full. She could not pay the. Adrian checked the system. Nia. Months earlier, he might have calculated the room's cost, the policy, and the. Now he looked at the children, asleep against their mother. He handed her. We'll work it out. The woman began to. Nia carried one child upstairs while Adrian carried their. Samuel watched from. After everyone settled, Adrian returned. He reached for the light switch. Nia. Leave. He looked toward the. For anyone still looking for a place that won't turn. Adrian left the lamp glowing. Then he stood beside her without reaching for her. Nia looked. You stayed? I said. You've said things before. This time, she reached. Not because he had once been a billionaire, not because he had abandoned an empire in front of a bull, and not because sacrifice entitled him. She reached for him because after losing everything that had once defined, Adrian had learned to show his true worth in the quiet work of keeping it. Outside, Chicago moved through. Inside, the bronze key caught the warm light, and above the entrance of the Carter house, one lamp remained on.